Hello, and welcome to the THC show. This is the 5th anniversary of the CSP, and that's what that cake is all about, and that's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. We also have 8 out of 10 Glenn from CannaMatch.ca, and actually it was Glenn and CannaMatch.ca that provided the cake here. All sorts of good sweet things can come from CannaMatch.ca. We'll also be visiting, of course, the CSP Healing Wave RV. Updating you on a lot of stuff, but it's primarily today going to be about the CSP and what's been going on here. The THC show is about truth, hope, and change. Those are the 3 main components of our quest for low barrier access community cannabis stores with in-person purchasing, and that's what we've been striving for a very long time here now. It all started 5 years ago. Wow, 5 years, that's a long time. They say time flies if you're having fun, and I believe the most important thing in life is to have fun, and yeah, time has really flown. It's a bit surreal, actually. I have a hard time believing that it's been 5 years since it all started. Some of it seems like it was just yesterday, but it was 5 years ago, right about now, that I showed up at Vandu after having already gotten unanimous approval from the Vandu board to be able to provide high-dose cannabis edibles for people to get off of opioids here on the downtown east side of Vancouver in Canada. And so with that approval from the Vandu board, I'd already gone to City Council a few months before this time in February to ask for their support and approval on a program that would provide cannabis high-dose edibles as easily as possible for people to get so that they would be able to get through withdrawal and replace the use of opioids and other street drugs. I had already prior to that gone to the Vancouver Police Board with our lawyer, at the time Rob Laurie escorted me there, and we explained to them, what the project was going to all be about, and trying to get them to at least give us tacit approval and understand what it was that was going to be happening there. And so about 5 years ago today, I showed up at Vandu with a few boxes full of edibles that I'd gotten from some local dispensary people that were friends of mine, and set up a table and started handing them out. It was a week or so later that I had enough more donations that I came back and did it again. And I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again. And it seemed like I was always doing it on a Saturday. And certainly for 3 Saturdays in a row, I showed up there at noon with my boxes of edibles and set up the table and started handing these things out. And the next Saturday, again, because I'd gotten into quite a rhythm. During the week, I would go and visit my dispensary owner friends, people that I thought might want to contribute to what we were trying to accomplish there, and then get my boxes of donations, and at noon show up at Vandu. But I never told anybody that I was coming at any particular time, and I'd never posted it anywhere. I would just show up there. But it was 4 in a row. And that 4th Saturday in a row at noon, I arrived to quite a large group of people waiting for some cannabis edibles, and another smaller group of people that were there to help me and asked if there was something they could do because they had heard what was going on. And I knew at that time that we were going to do every Saturday for a while, and we did every Saturday for 52 solid weeks. At the end of 52 weeks, however, it was getting a little bit dicey, I would say, with the lineup that was there once a week. There was some issues. That was our only issue, really, was the problems with the lineup, with the organizing people and keeping people from butting in and issues that would arise. So I had approached the Vandu board and asked that I could do 3 days, that none of which would be Saturday, and try to disperse that long lineup of hundreds of people that were showing up every time into 3 days a week instead of just the one, and hopefully solve some of our lineup issues. Well, Vandu's a very, very busy place, and they weren't able to give me the 3 days that I thought I wanted, but they would give me 2 other days. And so every Thursday and every Sunday for 2.5 years after that, we were there, and the lineup was still a bit of an issue. I'm really glad we didn't try to do 3 days, because that was really hard to sustain 2 days as it was. The lineups really didn't get any shorter. It wasn't like we got the lineup split in half. It was like, the same people were coming, and this lineup was just as big every day. It was a little hard to sustain, but thanks to amazing donators, we managed to do that. There was a few times, several times, where we didn't have enough to satisfy the amount of people that had showed up to collect their care pack of 4 to 6 edibles and a couple of joints. But most of the time we had a little more than enough. and we would allow people to go back through the line a second time and get a second care pack, because the goal was always to give people as much as they needed to help them get through that stage of withdrawal that was the barrier to them getting off of those opioids and the other drugs that they were using, and then to be able to replace those things with something that was affordable to them. And in many cases they were homeless, and poverty was certainly a barrier. So the goal of the CSP was to make it as easy as possible to get cannabinoids in all those different forms that people needed to them as best we could. And thanks to that dedicated group of volunteers that showed up, several of them are still involved with us 5 years later, and that amazing dozens and dozens of donators, a core group that were very instrumental in providing us on a weekly basis what we needed from each of those donators. And that was so powerful, and that's what really allowed it to happen. But also the people that randomly would come along, and I would go and pick up this and that from people that every once in a while could donate, and all of that filled those bags every time. And the program went on. I've never tried to conceal what we were doing or hide it in any way. I've always wanted to be very above board, and that's why I went to City Council ahead of time and to the Vancouver Police Board ahead of time. And that's why I put up signs every time. I would decorate my vehicle in the front and the back and the top and make it as obvious as possible that what we were doing there was helping people with cannabis, and that was a big deal in a world where cannabis was illegal. This is prior to legalization in Canada, even though legalization in Canada is not the legalization that we asked for or that we require and that we were going to continue to fight for. But this is back in the days when it was still a criminal offense, and we were risking what we were doing there, everybody that was involved, all the donators and all the people involved. And yet we soldiered on, not trying to hide anything, trying to get approval every step of the way. I didn't get approval from City Council until 2.5 years after starting the project. But eventually they got on board. Before that, we had Dr. M.J. Malloy from UBC send his people there to research and do studies and interview people and see what it was that was going on, and were we helping people or were we hurting people? Was there problems with what we were doing, or was it something that should be supported? And he subsequently has written several dozen peer-reviewed papers that show the efficacy and the safety of cannabis in the form of high-dose edibles for using to get off of opioids, but a variety of other things as well. So we've got great support from the scientific community. We've got doctors and professors that have written us letters in support. We have great support from the political community around us, from the municipality and that government to Jenny Kwan and other people here in BC. There's several different ministries in BC that have contacted Ottawa on our behalf in support of looking into cannabis as a harm reduction tool for the opioid crisis and other things. So we have great support, but it's taken a very long time. After 2.5 years, as I said, the City Council of Vancouver passed a motion unanimously to support low barrier access to cannabis. That prompted us to meet with them to get an understanding that we would find a storefront and move our project indoors, turn it into a program, have membership. We formed a society to do that with, and we did find a storefront, and that's the building that we're broadcasting from here today, and have been for the last 1.5 years. We found this building and we turned it into a beautiful storefront, and we were very happy in here, and we were helping the community in very profound ways with a program that was operating for now not 2 days a week for 1.5 hours at a time, but for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. And for 5 months we had that going on. But instead of getting licensed by the city and supported like they said they would, they caved and said that they had to bow to Ottawa and that we had to get permission from Ottawa to do what we were doing before they would give us a license to occupy a storefront in the city. We fought that in court and lost to a judge who said that we were arriving in court with unclean hands because what we were doing was actually a crime. Saving people's lives with a natural herbal medicine is a crime, apparently, in Canada. And of course, we all know that's what was going on, and that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing anyway, because it's certainly not a crime, and that whole business of criminalizing access to cannabis has caused us a huge amount of money and societal problems, and I've been trying to get that stopped for a long time, along with a whole bunch of other people. But here we go, and that's what's going on. So we got booted out of our store, thanks to a corrupt judge who has blood on his hands for sure, and our hands were clean as could be. We're good people doing good things. There's no crime going on here. There's no people being harmed, and there's no intent to harm anybody. We're rescuing people from addiction. We're saving their lives. So, in any case, kicked out of the store, not supported by the city, had to do something, so we bought an RV overnight, never missed a day, parked it right out front, and we've been selling cannabis and giving cannabis to the membership of our program for the last 15 and a half months from the RV. And that's where we are today. Still on the block. We've been here for over 18 months now, but like I say, 15 months of it in an RV. In that time, we have given out well over 5 million milligrams of high-dose edibles. This has been a demonstration. What you've been witnessing week after week on this program is us letting you have a little bit of an insight into the protest and the demonstration that we put on every day here, 6 days a week, against bad government drug policy that's actually killing people. This is our protest. This is our demonstration. And what have we demonstrated? We've demonstrated that we can sustain this program for 5 years, that we can somehow accumulate and give away free over 5 million milligrams in the form of all types of edible cannabis. And that in that whole process of providing that to literally thousands of people, but we have a membership of 266 people, but we help far more than that, hundreds more than that. We never turn anybody away here. Thanks to our amazing donators, we always have at least a muffin and a cookie and a joint for anybody who comes to us that's hurting, that can't afford anything and needs something. And so we've demonstrated that we don't hurt anybody. Although I will say that most people, when they're getting familiar with cannabis high-dose edibles, have a tendency to eat too much and go through a pretty uncomfortable experience in that process. There's no physical harm. There's no long-term damage, although I will say that many people after that don't decide not to use cannabis edibles anymore, and I'd say that's long-term damage, because at the right dose, most people can find a lot of value in cannabis, edibles, and all of its other forms. So to have an experience that keeps you away from having that as part of your life, well, I'd say that's harmful. But other than that, there's no need for the criminalization of people who are purveyors, growers, distributors, or users of cannabis. And there never has been. There was never any justification for using the criminal law to try to prevent people from producing or accessing or using the cannabis plant. It has been a dirty, lousy, corrupt scheme right from the beginning to protect corporate assets and to control people, and nothing more. Nothing more. It was never, ever about it actually causing mayhem in the society or harm to individuals or hurting anybody in any way. Reefer madness was all bullshit. All of it. Complete and utter lies. The biggest lies that you could tell. To say that cannabis makes people violent and insane when really it brings a level of clarity and calmness and sanity to people. It's medicine that mimics our own endocannabinoid system, as we've looked into the science over the decades, and everything confirms that this is a substance that human beings deserve to have access to, and with access to it, have their lives enriched and enhanced in many, many ways. And people who are suffering and struggling are helped greatly by a natural herbal medicine that we've had a symbiotic relationship with for thousands and thousands, millennia of years on this planet, and find ourselves in a situation where governments on behalf of corporations have been involved in a smear campaign and lies and corruption to control a marketplace and to control the consumption of people, and much, much more and worse than that. It goes right to the level of people being executed for even 50 grams of cannabis in several places around the world to protect these greedy, evil corporate bastards, etc., etc., etc. So we've been not accepting that, and that's what we do here in BC. It's been a thing for quite a while. There's a core group of activists that have been working in British Columbia and in Vancouver primarily, but British Columbia, that have refused to lay down and be oppressed and to just go away. And it started with Mark Emery, I believe, who, when raided, opened right back up again. And that became the mantra of all people involved in the protest against the laws here. is that we would openly do what we're doing, and if interfered with, we will not be stopped. And with that attitude, we opened over 150 dispensaries, storefronts, with signs, open signs, with counters, and people could walk in and purchase cannabis. In Vancouver, there was upwards of to 180 of these dispensaries at its height. None of them licensed or regulated in any way, except they were all self-regulated. The cannabis movement had itself regulated those dispensaries. Just about everybody that ran a dispensary. There was a couple of exceptions of people that used less than good business practices or practices with respect to dispensing cannabis as medicine. But the vast majority all bought into the idea of, we're doing the right thing, we want to do it the right way, we want to show the government that we're doing it the right way so that they will understand that, they will see that. That whole decade of dispensaries that went on across Canada and mostly here in Vancouver was a demonstration. It was a daily demonstration of how cannabis could be in the marketplace. People could go and access it in person at a storefront. And not only would there not be harms associated with that, there would be great benefits associated with that, and that is exactly what was proven. That was the demonstration that was the dispensary demonstration here in Vancouver that spread across the country. We will not be stopped, we will not go away, we will not quit, and especially when our brothers and sisters are suffering and dying, we will not stop and go away. And that's the point that we make here. That's the point that the CSP is making. That's the point that Legacy 420 is making. That's the point that all these other activists that are still actively pursuing proper legalization are making here. We're not going away. We're not going to stop. The government needs to do the right thing, to stop harming people with policies that protect corporations and put profits over people and patients. That's what needs to happen here. And so we continue on. I hope we're not going to be 5 more years in an RV. I hope that in this year that we're in right now, we're going to get that piece of paper with a signature on it. We're going to be able to properly help people the way that we would be if we had that type of support from government. We could do so much more. We are being handcuffed, limited, and impeded in our desire and ability to be able to help people by being stuck in a cramped RV, unable to occupy this storefront or the others that would be occupied if we had that type of permission. This problem is raging in communities right across Canada. There are communities that are just absolutely being torn apart by drug addiction and the deaths of people that are involved in using street drugs. This program needs to be embraced by government, and the fact that it's not is one of the most criminal acts that I've witnessed in my lifetime. This is an attack on disabled people. This is a genocide on the sick and the suffering Canadians who don't want to use pharmaceuticals because that just makes you sicker in many cases. And we need to have the option of this natural herbal medicine that's been around for millennia, that public servants have no right to prohibit, restrict, or overregulate. It should be allowed to be grown like any other commodity. Any farmer should be able to grow whatever they want and bring it into the marketplace. And the marketplace should decide what the prices of things are. This is government corruption. It's a protection racket for a bunch of greedy corporate individuals and groups that should be put in jail for what they're doing. And our governments should be put in jail for what they're doing. This is criminal. People are dying. This isn't frivolous. This isn't about wanting access to something that makes you giggle. And people just want to giggle, even though when they're giggling, they're not working hard, and people need to work hard to pay the economy. This is not anything to do with anything logical at all, except follow the money. The prohibition of cannabis was never intended to help Canadians or citizens for whom these people work. Be they public servants or be they kings, pharaohs, dictators, I don't care what they are. No one has a right to harm other people. No one has a right to restrict access to medicine to sick people. And in a place where we have public servants, hey, it's 4:20, my alarm didn't go off. What happened?
But you were in your spiel, I couldn't interrupt you.
I was waiting for that thing to go. I was kind of keeping my eye on it, you know.
Oh, you got to get
All right, well.
I was waiting for you to break. I was going to go, Neil, your alarm didn't go off.
My alarm didn't go off.
Yeah.
I'm on it. All right.
4:20. Oh, wow.
All right. So, For 2.5 years we've been doing this show, and for 2.5 years I've been having Glenn from CannaMatch.ca come and help me out with the 420 moment. Why don't you come on in here, Glenn?
Hey, the 421 moment today.
Well, we were almost there, eh?
Yeah, that's a good one though.
Well, I went into the moment high anyhow.
Oh yeah. Let's smoke a doobie.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm excited about 5 years. I think that's incredible.
Yeah,
a little
I've been
emotional.
here for about 3. You guys got 2 years on me, but I didn't really know much about it until I came downtown.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's incredible that it's been 5 years. I find
all
that
those
hard to
people that
believe.
you've saved their lives and stuff like that, you've helped, imagine without you being here, there would be a lot more people dying probably on the downtown east side.
The U is the CSP. I mean, I could never do anything like this all by myself. It would, unless I was a multimillionaire, and then I'd just hire a bunch of people to do it, maybe. But it's a whole bunch of people that came together to make this happen. And that's the point that I really want to make today.
Yeah.
Is that the CSP is a whole bunch of people.
It's a whole bunch of us. Yeah.
And it's not just here in Vancouver.
No.
It was pretty quickly taken over to Victoria with the Solid group over there. They mimicked what we were doing here, and they're still doing that over 4 years later. They've got great cooperation with their city council over there and with the police over there, and they quietly run their program where people come daily and get free cannabinoids and as a way to offset the use of these other drugs.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And then over 2 years ago now, Chris Backer, a good friend of mine in Nova Scotia and Halifax, saw what we were doing here, saw the need in his community, and so he started up a CSP there, and then we shared all of our material with him and our banners and stuff, and he started the East Coast CSP, and that's been running for over 2 years now. They get hundreds of people once a week. They're doing their thing, and in Mary McCarty,
one person, right?
Well, it takes a team.
Yeah, but she went out to
but it does take.
Yeah.
It starts with one person, and then they infect somebody else. Like that fourth time when I showed up at Vandu and I had those boxes of donations, and there was that small group of people there that were like, "Hey, we want to help you. We heard what you were doing." That was incredibly powerful, and that allowed it to be sustained. That group of people really helped support me, and took over some of the stuff that needed to be done there, so that I didn't have to do it all myself, and it was growing into quite a thing already. So, it's the people that come along that are also inspired and motivated that make it all work, and it's a huge team effort. I quickly had a team at Vandu.
Yeah.
There was
the
a good
rollers.
The Holy Rollers
the
were
people, Andrew and helping out
working
with
the door.
And stuff.
Jen, the people that were packaging stuff.
Yeah.
John Murray, who would show up and have his hot food. Speaking of the angel right there. And
there you go. You brought some more muffins.
And then Mackenzie comes.
I brought cake.
We should light that sucker, shouldn't we?
Should we? You want to move your phone?
I'm going to go
All right.
over
Okay.
here.
Well, I'll move your phone.
All right.
There we go. So we don't start a fire.
Can I get in there, Neil?
There you go.
Cannabis people are good with fire,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you get to make
another
a wish.
good demonstration.
You get to make a wish.
Oh, you know what I'm wishing for.
Oh, I know. And that you do wish that.
I don't have
and you
to
get
say it. I
blow
think
out. Yeah, Dave's here. Come on, Dave.
How you doing,
Jump
Dave?
in here, man.
We got a whole bunch of people here. You guys can all
I'm
bunch in here if you
Bunch in
want.
if you want. Come on
Come
in.
and surround me here if you want.
Come on over.
If you got a joint going. If you don't,
Jerry, John.
I'm
Casey,
coming in.
come
Come
on
on
back
in.
over here.
Hey, I'm not filming as you're doing. Hey, buddy. Hey,
There you
this
go.
is the 420 crew.
This is it.
Wow,
And,
this is a small portion of it.
Yeah.
And so, Mary took the program to London, Ontario with her several months ago, and she attracted a good group of people there.
Yeah.
William Hicks, I spoke with him on the phone,
And
had a
his
great
son.
chat. And his son and
Isaac
and Chris and there's others, and it's obviously the same thing happens is you get people that really want to make it work because they know how much it's helping people, and you just can't do nothing if you know you can do something, right?
Exactly.
The problem is a lot of people don't think they can do anything.
Yeah.
But if you know you can do something and it touches you, you got to do something. So that's what's happened. So Mary started that over there, and William and his team have carried it on, and now Mary's moved to Winnipeg. I know Legacy 420 sent them a great big box of donations in Winnipeg there, so she's going to get that going. And then there's others, in Timmins and in Sudbury and others as well, and a bunch of people doing it. So this is part of our movement towards real legalization, low barrier, in-person purchasing, and so
It's amazing.
And I'm just humbled by it all.
Those little group of people helped you create what you have today, right?
A huge group of people, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I mean,
some
it
of
was
them are still with you. Jen's still with you. Andrew's still with you.
Those core volunteers. George, who was in charge of rolling.
John's still here.
Andrew, who is in charge of all the volunteers after Ted Scully had started that. He was the guy that was there that was really going to look after every little facet of things. And he was kind of my shadow, my right-hand guy there. And then he had to stop doing that. He was moving away. And he said, I got the guy for you. Yeah. Don't worry. I got the guy for you. Because it's important, that people be reliable and show up. Yeah. And so I got to meet Andrew. And Andrew has just been amazing. He almost never misses. Other than the odd sick day.
He's a soccer player.
Yeah.
He's a footballer.
He's a footballer. He's a Liverpooler.
Never got too emotionally involved about anything. Never got jacked up about anything. Was always calm and cool and collected.
Most of the time.
Great guy.
Yeah, and then Andrew's been great. And of course, Jen, once she got taken over the packaging of things, nobody could replace her. And she knew that. And she's become like the mother of the neighborhood. Yeah. She's, kind of the glue that holds it all together.
Of the neighborhood.
She nags me a lot.
Well, then you should maybe blow those up before you get some wax on that beautiful, beautiful cake.
Yeah. Not sure what we're going to do with that cake. Yeah, we're going to start handing it out to people.
I think we're going to do it after the show.
I was going to ask you, is it infused, but that's a
it's definitely infused.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Everything we do here is infused.
Yeah. Oh, when I bring cake, I don't just bring regular cake unless
basically saturated. Everything we do here is basically saturated, infused. It is the theme.
Somebody might
Jerry,
put out the recipe.
Jerry, by the way, for those of you, this is about the people out there, because we all know who we all are and what we all did here, but it's a matter of communicating what we've done and who we are to those people. And Jerry, you came along early in the program. You sort of heard what was going on there at Mandu and showed up there. And you already were a photographer and you wanted to start taking pictures of things all over the place. And you took a whole bunch of those pictures over those years. And thanks to you, primarily, although we also tried to take at least a picture of the donations and the lineup. Yeah. But you got all these other interviews with people and all these other things. And you put that together on a stick for us that we're going to be producing in some form or fashion, in the not too distant future. And I can't thank you enough for that. I mean, I told you at the time that what you were doing was a huge part of the CSP. Having a little bit of insight into the historical value of what we're actually doing here. Without you guys, all these donators and people and supporters, and without the CSP being able to be sustained and do what it's doing, we would be a dead movement. Oh, yeah. We would at this point.
Yeah, I'm sure I got some more footage, and I'm going to pass that along to you, because I got about 4 or 5 more hard drives that I haven't totally dissected. I'll keep passing them along. So
what I mean by that is that without this resistance, there wouldn't be enough resistance to what the government has decided to replace our culture and the cannabis industry with. With their producers and their stores and the level of enforcement that they've instituted, there would always be the underground green marketplace for sure. But the fight for actual legalization would probably be lost if we stopped, if we didn't continue this fight this way, and the way that the Legacy 420 people are doing it with their new Fecal Institute that's coming down the road. And there's going to be some really cool announcements about a great group of people that are working to get low barrier access to the real medicine. Fecal is full extract cannabis oil, and it is the shit. It is the real cutting edge medicine for what people need that are fighting cancers and other things. It is the real ingredient that you would put into edibles. It is the way to extract and to deal with, and if you do it properly. And that's the thing, is these are people that are working hard scientifically to come up with the right ways. And I know you're interested in what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
And
already do it right there.
Well, and that's the thing.
Really
Dirty Dave, I know you do, and I want to introduce you to these people that I've been working with, and get your input on this, because we're going to expand this network of people and get as many people involved as we can. And we've got great minds involved already.
Corey really in Victoria, for example, is probably the best example there is.
Yeah, there's a huge list of names, and we're going to start going there. We're going to start getting these people involved. And right now, we're having Zoom meetings every Thursday that last a couple of hours. It's a dozen or so people are involved that go from Dallas, Texas, to the reserve down here just across the border. I think it's Walla.
Doug Benton, Florida.
But I do agree with you. All of my stuff I make with oil.
Yeah, it's the right way to
I
go.
use oil for full extract oil. I don't just put
Yeah.
grass in the butter and then extract the grass in. I use
Oil.
It's the only way to be able to properly dosage.
And if you're dealing with
Even
people that
dosage.
are in serious trouble with cancers and things like that, you have to go that way. You have to. It has to be clean. It has to be pure. It has to be done the right way. There's an overlapping of strains to get the full level of cannabinoids that need to be there for people with the different needs that they have. All of that stuff is being worked on behind the scenes here, soon to be a little more out in the open. And all of it also part of the fight for low barrier access and in-person access. And much of it through the Indigenous community is how this is going to be orchestrated as well. There are hundreds of non-government dispensaries that are operating right now, from the Indigenous Bloom to there's a few others right now on Indigenous land that are operating outside of these government over-regulated
I've got a
conditions.
few in Saskatchewan and stuff
So,
like that.
Dirty Dave in BC.
There you go, right? So the fight continues, and what I'm saying is without that, people would just gradually accept these government stores, and that this is just the way it is. And we go back to having Prohibition 2.0 for all the people that aren't part of the cartel, and those people that are part of the cartel. Well, there's stores everywhere. There's 30 stores in every small town. So, and speaking of that, this legalization has resulted in a proliferation of cannabis stores all over the place. And there's a number of people that are falling victim to that, small business owners that had had their stores for a long time. And I'm speaking of one in particular, Jeff Lundstrom, with the Skunk Funk store in Saskatoon, has announced that he's going to have to close in May.
Wow.
And, I mean, that's an era
He
and a
was going to
half.
go into growing, though.
But
wasn't
he said he's not able to
Yeah.
sell cannabis there. He would if he could. There's places, lots of them selling cannabis in stores, and they're also selling bongs and pipes and things. But they're selling bongs in dollar stores and corner stores and gas stations.
And I think people are broken. They can afford weed. I'm not so sure they can afford the bong, though.
Well,
A
not
lot
the
of people
high-end
are
stuff
broke
so much, but
these days.
there's
It's
cheap
hard
bongs.
times right now.
There's cheap bongs all
For a
over
lot
the
of
place.
people,
So much so
yeah.
that really his business has gone down to the point that he's going to have to find something else. Jeff's a smart guy. The world's full of opportunity. He's got a lot of connections and expertise. So I think he'll land on his feet. But it's really sad that store, which was the center of so much in Saskatoon. I mean,
it was.
there was very little else for so long there.
And Saskatchewan and the prairies in general are a hard place to operate. You face a lot of opposition from the government and the cops, so he had to have bravery and chutzpah to be able to do it in Saskatchewan.
Walls of
Because
steel.
being a Winnipeg guy, Saskatchewan's not
And
easy
the Prairie
place.
Medicinal.
Give an update on Jerry Martin.
Oh, he said not me.
So and Jeff put on the Prairie Harvest Cup there, which has since been shut down by COVID, of course, and now likely
Or
not
the
to.
theory of.
Who knows? Who knows what will happen
Now
there?
he's lost the store, so I don't think all the money to be able to do another one. He wanted to do a 10th one.
I'm only teasing.
But,
I know it's all
So
good.
I think you mentioned Jerry Martin.
Yeah,
No, I didn't.
I did. I was just saying, just to see how he did.
He's
How's he
recently
doing?
been before the courts in what was the submission of the final arguments in the constitutional challenge with Pat Wernicke and Justin Siemens. And I listened in on that proceeding there and listened to the Health Canada lawyer give their side of the case as to why we shouldn't have in-person purchasing for medical patients in stores. And I'm so disgusted that I heard what I heard, that our tax dollars are paying for this person to get up there and try to tell sophisticated lies that anybody with a half ounce of brains knows better than. They're so worried about diversion.
I know, yeah.
That somehow this cannabis is going to get into the marketplace without going through the proper channels, and that's a public health and safety issue. Why it's a public health and safety issue is beyond me. I mean, they're worried about the cannabis that they say is safe grown by their licensed producers
Yeah.
getting into the marketplace there. And I don't think we have any problem with anybody really being injured by the cannabis at all. I think people are making a little bit of money maybe on the diversion. I think that's where all of their concern
I'm
is.
hearing that some of that illegal store stuff is in our market now.
Completely.
Yes, because there's
I'm
been
sure it
stuff
is.
that they haven't been able to get the refund on, and they've been trying to get rid of it in our market so that they can be able to pay their staff and stuff like that. So I've been hearing like $80 ounces and stuff like that, and that's usually from their stores.
Well, listen, if it's flooded, the grocery stores are going out of business. It's totally being diverted from the LPs and the micro growers out the fucking back door. Totally. Go to my grocery store, Valley Indoor. I mean, they were a thriving business. If the market's flooded with weed, they should be just thriving, and they're not. They're reeling. Any grocery store you go into these days is a dead zone, like a graveyard, and they're all, what the fuck is happening? But if there's so much weed out there, where the fuck is it coming from? Sorry, you guys triggered me. Not the
Sorry, Eddie Barr.
Not
us, you know, and at $500 a pound, which I don't sell my pot for. I don't sell pot. But anyways,
If you did, you're probably
I
worth
couldn't
right now.
sell it for $500. I'd go out of business.
Yeah.
So you know that it's they're diverting.
They're already doing that.
Oh,
yeah.
totally.
There's a lot of diversion.
And I think that's another plan of the government to crush the black market, to be honest with you, and then I'll be quiet. But I think, you know, by them allowing it to divert without them stepping in or policing it at all, they know that that's going to help crush the market and, you know, put all the legacy guys out of business because, you know, it's just brutal.
Yeah.
Well, and somehow, for some reason, you know, so the system. I mean, you can buy cannabis in government stores.
Well,
you can buy an ounce a day. It's not medical grade cannabis, although it's coming from the same people that are supplying what is considered to be medical grade cannabis. These LPs that you can get through, medical patients can get through the mail order system. I know you want to say something.
Yeah, well, I heard that you used to be able to go to different stores and get an ounce, right? But now they've got smart and they put you on a system now. So if you go to one store, you can only buy 30 grams in a day.
Really?
I've heard there. Yeah, I saw a story about
track
that.
your ID.
And they're tracking you now
And why would they care?
because you're only allowed to have 30 grams a day.
Well, I don't know about that. I went and toured Don and Carol's store up on Kingsway there, and they are not asking everybody for ID.
No. Oh, they're not.
Some stores.
Oh,
Some stores.
Yeah.
Some stores are asking everybody for ID,
Okay.
but Don and Carol, if you look over 25 years of age, they're not going to ask you for ID.
that's good.
I asked her about that because that was one of my concerns. That's one of the barriers for people accessing cannabis.
Yeah.
So, I was almost unpleasantly surprised by what I found there at Don and Carol's store because I don't want the government stores to be any good until they allow for low barrier access and they change this system and stop over-regulating cannabis and let the marketplace decide on what should be and shouldn't be. And there's plenty of room for high-end growers and for Dave to have a nice store full of really expensive cannabis that people would love to happily pay top dollar for.
But I would
go buy
like to
something.
interject that Neil as well, I have a project coming up, and Neil as well has been a good influence on me and made me understand. And my uncle also always said this, that yes, the low price, you know, you need the $60 ounces and the $69 ounces and the $2 caps and the stuff. So the normal
We have
man,
dollar a gram.
right? You know, I'll tell you just a quick story I had before. I tried buying my uncle's, you know, bottom of the bags back when he was alive to make oil, and he says I can't. I sell it for $50 an ounce. And me being a young punk, I said, oh, who buys that? But people do, you know, because it's the bottom of the ounce. And hey, when you're up, you buy the good stuff, and when you're down, you buy, you know, what you can, and that's life, man.
I wish
And
there was
we're all up and down, you know. So we need the.
You know, I mean, on that note, I mean, I can tell
Totally in favor of
a very well-grown cannabis bud,
as well as the top enders.
I can tell a top-end cannabis bud that somebody has grown with love and care and knows what they're doing and produced this beautiful thing. Some people can't; they don't know the difference. Some cannabis that's just grown outdoors works just fine for people, and they should be able to have that. And that's my only point. I'm fine with high-end stores, and people would want that. And why would I ever say people
We don't
couldn't
even
have
have
that?
one. There's not even
You know?
a high-end store.
All the stores are high-end right now.
Really? No, there's
Well,
no.
they're high
I
price.
thought the high
Government
price.
stores.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
They're
high
high
price.
end.
I
They're
want
high price.
High
that.
price.
I want
I
that
haven't
store
gone
where I
in
can go
one
buy
yet.
some weed that joint.
I just didn't
fucking
bother
put me on my
But you
ass
can't
for
walk
half
into a
joint or
store and
something.
smell it.
I
You
would
can't
love
smell
to
it.
smoke
It's
something
all
like that
packaged all
nowadays.
up.
You
I don't
can't
think
see
you're
it
going to
enough
find
in
some
there.
of Dave's
I know.
cannabis.
Everything's
Hey,
just
guys,
like it, you know.
here,
everything-
We got a show going on here.
Yeah.
Totally falling apart because it's an anniversary.
It's an anniversary.
Speaking of which,
So,
I got my wish.
nice. Yeah.
Wax on the cake and all.
Now, Dave, what Dave's
You're not going to find Dave's weed for sale in a low-end store
No.
for cheap because he can't do that.
No.
And it doesn't have that. But you need to be able to go in there and find Farmer Joe's stuff there that wasn't even properly cured or trimmed or anything, just in bulk or whatever. However the farmers would bring it to market. That's what I'm saying. Let the marketplace decide. You let the farmers grow whatever they want to grow. They want to grow cannabis right now because you can get more money for that than anything else.
And, and that's the golden rule of capitalism right there.
That's right.
Let the marketplace decide.
There's farmers that grow $2 weed.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what?
they do.
Even in blueberries, it's the same thing. I was involved in the blueberry farm, and even then your blueberries get graded, man. It's not just everyone gets the same price for blueberries.
Well, and
or
you're probably
any
right. There's probably better
commodity.
blueberries than others, right?
Sure.
And with cannabis,
And
holy
machine
crap,
picked
there's better
versus
cannabis than
hand
others,
picked,
right?
you know,
Sure.
Yeah.
Any
So,
commodities like
yeah,
that.
and if somebody wants to just buy some cannabis in bulk and take it home and do their own extraction safely, for their own purposes, we're human beings. We're not kids.
No.
We're not criminals. We're not insane. We're fully functioning human adults, and we're being treated like we're criminally insane or children or something.
Yeah.
And we're being treated this way by people who are themselves dinosaurs, who are completely out of touch and disconnected with what's actually going on in the world of cannabis consumption. They don't want to know. They don't know, obviously, or maybe they purposely,
Yeah, I think they purposely,
but
yeah.
mostly they're driven by money, and that's the thing we've been discovering
But
here.
Neil, what you did in the 5 years
All-
is to
all
show the
stock
real medical
markets, right.
advantages to the creams, to the oils, how it enhanced their lives on the street. My God, it was just a miracle. The
It's been a
creams, all the
demonstration.
stuff that you give away, the cookable. The one thing that you gave away, and it was the raw stuff, and it was a juice in this middle of the summer. Remember, it was 50 milligrams, and it was in a orange juice container, and you gave out these little things. It was raw cannabis juice, and it was 50 milligrams, and it made you feel absolutely fabulous.
Well, we all know this, that
Remember that?
cannabis works. What we need to do is demonstrate it to people who think for
Exactly.
some reason cannabis needs to be prohibited or
Oh my
overregulated.
God, it was so good.
And so that's what we're doing.
Well, the minimums, I take a 50 milligram cap. I'm pretty high. I do, though. That helps me. I take 2, man, I'm pretty high. I take
I've
3,
had,
I can't
2
really
people
talk
call
to the
me,
human
Dave.
race no more.
Dave,
I'm just unfinished, right?
Twice in the last 2 months, Dave, I've had people call me that took 2 of your capsules
Yeah.
and they weren't okay. They were like, I'm not sure what to do here right
But
now.
this one lady that works for me,
I'm gonna get some
she'll
from you.
take 6 or 8,
Some
and she
people
works
can.
and just fine, and she's just
Yeah,
up
I'm
to
about
here,
150, 200
but she has
milligrams
really,
a night.
severe arthritis and stuff, and she
Yeah.
can gobble them. I myself, like you said, 2, and sometimes I'm on the coach, oh wow, I don't remember just to take 1,
Yeah, I had
But
to talk
one
a
really-
couple people down a little bit.
One really helps. Yeah, lots of water always helps.
Yes,
and
water, yeah.
vitamin C.
Yeah,
That's
that's
exactly
exactly
hot
what
shower in the morning
Hot
gets you out of that.
showers are
that-
awesome,
yeah.
yeah.
Hot
I'm
shower in
not
the
to
morning
worry.
make you wear
You're
that
not
right
to
out.
worry. It's just a
Yeah.
matter of a little bit of
Oops.
time,
I-
and everything will be
But
fine.
it goes to what you said earlier, and I totally agree with that too. And I've seen it that if people do that, they get scared of it, and
Some
then they
people
won't
do.
use it as medicine in the
Yeah.
future. And
That's
our
why-
biggest
off
problem.
That's why
potentially-
it's line is
Because I
so
also
low
make
and
5
so low.
milligram
Overdose
capsules.
somebody.
Yeah.
And a
That's
lot
the
of
meanest
times
thing you
with a
can do.
new person, what I'll do is I'll give them a jar of 5 milligram capsules,
Yeah.
and I'll tell them, listen, just start at 1 and 2 and work your way up and
Yeah.
find out where your level of comfort is,
Yeah.
Low
and come from the bottom rather than the top,
We're really careful about
Yeah.
making sure we
Yeah.
tell everybody what's going on if
Yeah.
they don't already know.
Just
Most of the
that
people
for
we
the
deal with,
person.
they know.
Yeah.
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 That's a good 420 session.
Is that what it was?
It's been a great
I put my
420
phone down
session.
somewhere.
All
I
our
don't
friends
know,
are
but that's all
here.
right.
We're all
I
smiling.
was gonna
John,
get some more videos,
Casey,
but I don't know what
Neil.
it is.
All our friends are watching.
I'm going
Something-
Thomas.
Just something else
Jackie.
I had on my notes that I wanted to cover a little bit, and that is
Sure.
the hypocrisy with respect to government policy when you look at how they deal with tobacco or alcohol, and then with cannabis. For alcohol, there's probably 10 places within 3 blocks of here that
Where
you
you
can
get
walk
some.
into if you're vaccinated and sit down and drink alcohol
Yeah.
and with your buddies and consume it on site and the rest of it. no consumption lounges allowed.
No.
Cannabis culture is defiant and staying open amongst great threat and pressure. There's very little else in the way of any consumption lounge just for people to do with cannabis, and there needs to be. So that's another fight that we've got here for
Did
sure.
you hear the latest?
What is the
The
latest?
park board is going to extend the alcohol allowance in the parks,
In the parks?
and they want to
sell it.
set up and sell it now.
Yeah, now they're gonna sell it to you at the parks too.
Right.
Yeah, so now we need cannabis, right?
Well,
Now-
cannabis is still banned, and you'll get a $150 ticket for smoking it if they catch you.
Oh, so we can cut our feet with broken glass,
Well, you know, we were
but we
talking
might
about
You
start
go
a
there and
fire
get
with
drunk
it.
and buy your booze right out of their
Oh.
concession stand.
Oh, that's sad. That's a sad state of
Oh my god.
Well,
Indeed.
when we were talking on the res, you know, and I was, because we just lost a brother, you know, to liver failure. And I asked my native brothers and some other people I know, you know, do you consider alcohol a hard drug? I never used to. My grandpa drank a lot, and he could drink successfully. And I know a few other people who drank a lot, it never really affected them. But when I think when I was in jail and stuff, and so we all took a vote, you know, I never fucking used to, but I went and hung at a few places, you know, and I now consider alcohol a hard drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The damage it's done and stuff, you know, the people it's killed, it's horrendous.
I mean, if
It's
you
all
take a
on the
little drop,
government's soul,
you
you
take
know.
a little drop. It's probably not. It's not going to probably. A little drop is probably not going to harm or affect anybody. But the problem is that people take a little more than just a little drop. And when you take copious amounts of alcohol, then it starts to get dangerous. When you do it regularly, now you're setting yourself up for liver failure and cancer and numerous other
Blood
things.
poisoning.
But I'm not putting down alcohol. Listen, I know lots of people that can drink alcohol not successfully without it affecting their life, but it has created a lot of damage too.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Totally.
But you wouldn't want to see it prohibited.
No,
And
never.
that was the point I was
Never.
going to make.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that,
I don't
you
think
know,
anything should
It
be
has its
prohibited.
benefits, yes.
You know,
hurting people.
you can buy as much of it as you want, pretty much. You
Yeah.
can go and fill your damn cooler up full of the strongest alcohol and go back
But
again
can
and
you
get
make
more.
it unlimited? Can you make unlimited alcohol?
I don't know if you
I
can.
don't
And
think
then
you can.
maybe they put some arbitrary rule on there. I mean, you
Some
know,
people are using Everclear, one of the strongest alcohols, to make cannabis oils, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
so
Right.
the point is in the hypocrisy with the regulations that are imposed
Well,
on the
now
different
there's
substances.
ethanol now, too,
That
which is
the
organic.
availability of alcohol,
Really?
and that's a substance that the government makes money on.
Yeah.
Right, so they're making good money on alcohol. They got a pretty good system they put in place there. They had it laid out for them before they took over the sales. Right, they had these really ingenious underground alcohol salespeople that put together a big network, and they knew how to da. And then the government prohibited for a while, and then they said, okay, now you can have alcohol, but you can only get it through us. Does that sound familiar at all? And so now they control all the alcohol outlets, and yeah, you can still make your own, but they make real fancy, nice alcohol, you know, and they got, proper beer makers and what have you. So people go to the stores mostly. Most people don't brew their own alcohol, but you can. You make your own wine if you want, and, it's not a big competition for the big stores. But with cannabis, they treat it completely differently. And cannabis is something that, a lot of people would grow for themselves and their friends, if there were no restrictions. The restrictions seem so ludicrous to me. Like in a world of free people. Thanks, landlord. Landlord's in the house offering people joints.
All right, I'll take one. It's meant for you. What the hell?
We're having a casual show here today.
Hey, I'm not drunk and I'm not selling my land away, so
And you're wearing my hat.
Yeah, exactly.
happy anniversary, Neil.
Hey, happy anniversary, Neil.
Landlord.
Yeah,
So the hypocrisy is just so rife, and people really need to realize that we need to have a reasonable world. When you're living in an unreasonable world, the people that get elected into positions of power or somehow find themselves in those positions, they can abuse their power. They can take advantage of things. They can make ridiculous shit for people to deal with. And if we all go along with it, then we all go along with it. And then we have a ridiculous world here. And that means people die. And that means people don't get medicine in the case of cannabis. That means people go to jail, lose their homes, lose their kids because of stupid rules about which plant you can and cannot have. We live in a very unreasonable world. If you try to look at cannabis prohibition and overregulation from a logical point of view, it does not make any sense. Like, you can go buy a wheelbarrow full of vodka. You can go and buy cartons and cartons of this commercial tobacco shit that's on record killing millions of humans every 12 months around the world. And yet, here's this medicine that they're barely admitting is medicine, but we all know it is. And if you look at the history, if you look at the science, if you look at what's going on in the world, if you look at all, you find out that, holy crap, that's real medicine. Cannabis is like the bomb of medicine. And yet our governments are over-regulating it, restricting it, treating it like as if it's way worse than alcohol and something that we should all be afraid of or
Healthy
whatever.
for us,
Can't get together and consume in lounges and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we should all be so totally appalled that we get into our trucks and we drive them to the government buildings and we sit there in front of those buildings and refuse to move until they do something about it. I don't know what we should do. But, you know, if we really did understand just how ludicrous this was, just how much harm and damage is being caused by the over-regulation of cannabis, I think we would all want to have a great big truck that we could get into, that we could go and stop the government with, and you know, see what we can do.
Me.
What do you mean it's not you? It's not me.
It's right there.
Oh, it's right there.
Jerry lost his phone.
We did?
Jerry lost his phone.
Oh, that's your phone.
Jerry just found his phone.
By
Right
the
there.
way, those of you in the audience, could you please
Yeah,
turn
I'm
your
sorry
ringers
to
off?
do that.
And all the truckers are in Ontario right now.
Oh, they're all over
Yeah.
Canada, yeah? All right. Here, for you.
What are we doing now?
No, Flintstones, it's all right.
Someone owns the Flintstones. I just don't want to have them drop it.
No, I got told by producer.
We
Yeah,
already did
Good.
our
I
20
like that one. I
seconds.
almost
Yeah,
started
we did,
dancing.
yeah.
I was going to start dancing, Glenn. I warned you.
Yeah, but
I'm
you
pretty
might
good.
get banned.
Okay.
Thanks to We Got the Goods and Top Shelf for recent donations, as well as all of our other donators, Canadian Lumber and so many others, Legacy 420 for helping out the other cannabis substitution programs. I can't begin, I did, but I shouldn't have, because I can't continue to name names. There's just so many. We're going to go out and have a look in a minute at the RV and just see what's out there with respect to who's been donating recently. We do that every week. Yeah, thanks to so many people for making this day a possibility. And
Thanks to you for coming up with the idea.
you know, we're celebrating 5 years, but what we're not celebrating is the attainment of our goals. The goal of the CSP is to be recognized, approved, and supported by government, to allow for people to have cannabis covered on their as a medical intervention. Like if you're going to have pharmaceutical pills paid for by government for people, and people can just use cannabis in place of those pills, well, those pills or the cost of that cannabis, if it's going to be high, should also be subsidized or covered by governments. There's just no logical reason why it wouldn't be. In fact, if we were living in a world of logic and reason, we would have public servants that not only supported people's ability to access cannabis, but they would encourage it. There would be support systems in place for people that can use it for medical purposes to have access. But we're not living in a reasonable, logical world. We're living in a world that's been co-opted decades ago, maybe millennia ago, by the powerful corporate elite, the financially elite groups in this world that have taken it upon themselves to own just about everything that's ownable. Those huge investment firms that are owned by the real billionaires and trillionaires of this world are invested in everything from our food supply to our energy supply to all of these different aspects of our life that are necessary for us. They're all being controlled. The media is being controlled. There's these hugely leveraged investment firms that are the real owners of all of the big corporations around the world, and we are absolutely subject to them. They have their fingers and tentacles into all of the aspects of government that they need to have the types of controls that has resulted in drug prohibition and that results in the protections that are in place for these corporate entities. They are the enemy of freedom, it seems, and yet they are the ones that get to pull the strings of the democracy that we live in. So, yeah, we want to continue to do something about that, and the point is that things are not okay. if there was a color chart as to where we are with respect to losing our actual ability to live free lives, to raise our families without interference from corporate greed, we're in the red zone. And they're in position to make it even worse than that, whatever that is. I think at some point we get into the black zone where it's just a prison state. But right now our freedoms are being taken away en masse all over the place and totally disrespected, certainly here in Canada, but all over the world in numerous jurisdictions. It is absolutely appalling and disgusting how governments have decided that they have the power to seize, to destroy, to imprison, to shut down, to arrest, to invoke all kinds of new laws and new bylaws and new things, whatever they want, in response to people that are just trying to not be oppressed by governments. These are strange and scary times that we're living in. Let's all have our eyes wide open as best we can. It's not easy to understand what's going on. In fact, it's extremely confusing and complicated, and that's their point. But let's not be stupid about things. Let's be smart about things. Let's be reasonable about things. Let's think things through and try to make the right choices as we go forward, and always do that from a place of love in your heart and compassion for your fellow human being, and with an understanding that we are being manipulated by media, governments, and corporations that have the power, the sophistication, and the ability to do that, and they've been doing it for a very long time, and we need to at least be awake to that, to protect ourselves as best we can, and our families, and the future for our families. So there you go on that. I think we should probably take this cake outside or something. I mean, I don't know. We didn't plan this well.
No, well, we can come back into the cake. It's warmer in here.
Well, here is the person that would know exactly what to do. Yes. Could I get some advice, John Nelson, on what to do with this cake? What do you think we should do? Take it out to the RV? We got spoons and forks out there, or plates. We got some.
Or should we do it in
We
here?
do not have all that.
Okay, so let's do it in here. You go out and see the people.
We need a little
RV.
organization, and
Go see them. Come back in. We'll eat cake.
shout out to John Murray, by the way, for these things. For doing the graphics and putting all those things together for us over the years, and our other signs in the back there. Al Sayers, man, rest in peace, Al. We miss you, buddy. Another victim of this horrible fentanyl crisis.
I do too.
Also was a part of that with the Cannabis Saves Lives logo. But anyway, so we're going to go and see what's going on outside. I alluded to it briefly before. What happened was we had the program on the street for a few years, and then we got city council support enough to think we could move into a storefront, but that turned out to be requiring more federal support than we could get at the time. So despite having submitted an application to the federal government to allow us to continue to do what we're doing with licenses for us and the people involved, and also an emergency application to get just a temporary exemption from the Cannabis Act, we continue to wait for all of that, and in the meantime, we had to leave the store, so we're out in an RV. We've been out there for 15 and a half months. We're still waiting now, over 17 months into our wait for the federal government to give us approval on our application. They say they're working on it every day for us, but it's complicated. We say it's not complicated at all. We've been doing it successfully for 5 years, demonstrating how well it can be done and how easy it can be done. And the complications are all financial, and that is absolutely disgusting when the issue here is people are dying and they need to have an easy option of cannabis to access to help them with that. Dave!
Can I give you this if you guys are headed outside?
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought you goodies.
Thank you so much. You've been such a great supporter over the years as well. Dave used to come with sandwiches. He would bring like turkey, ham, and cheese sandwiches. So we had like THC
With
sandwiches.
50 milligrams.
Yeah. And then your caps, which have been so valuable and so important for people as well.
Yeah.
Thank
and
you,
they're
sir.
all carefully measured, so you know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Perhaps I should bring some weaker ones, but let me tell you, those are
We have
those
some
are
of your
fi-
5 months.
Yeah, those are 50 milligrams for sure.
I don't know how many of
Well,
the
one
fives
is great.
we
As
still
soon as
have.
you take 2, they're a little bit stronger, though.
Yeah, we know. We tell people. Yeah, we have personal experience with that. That is awesome. Thank
and
you
then
so
that's
much.
just for you guys for your birthday, a little ounce of weed there. You know,
Thank
some
you so
shatter.
much.
And I rolled up some joints. I'd have rolled more, but I didn't want toxic glue shock. You know, after 60 joints or so, you start starts getting rough.
Well, the reason I'm doing the filming is that I can't roll a joint, so.
Thank you so much,
No
sir.
worries at all.
And thanks for
and I love
your
you
support
guys.
over the
Yeah.
years, man.
And you know, I'm going to start turning my focus a little bit to breeding and seeds. And so I'll have some plants for your members in April, May for outdoors. You know, I will be having some female already ready plants that they can try. Plus, the other thing I'm kind of interested in is, you know, making a full spectrum oil out of, you know, cannabis that has been impregnated. So I have some neat stuff coming up.
Very,
but
very
anyways,
cool.
I enjoy it with you guys, and you know, all I hope is that, you know, someone takes them and likes them, man.
We do that.
And, you know, doesn't
That's
get
for
into,
sure.
you know,
Some of the people in the program, they rely just on those. You know, it's an individual thing. The Eden program that ran just a block away from here for a while until they couldn't get support from City Hall and they had to, in tears, close their doors. Their program was all just about cows.
We give you know, I give them out on the res too, of course. And, you know, it's just about, it's not about curing the big thing or fixing anything. It's just about getting through the night, you know. Man, instead of going and getting high on one thing, maybe just take a cap and go easy and, you know, sleep and not worry about whatever's hurting you so much. Because that's usually all
the
that's
comment
going
that we
on,
hear a
is that
lot
they're hurting.
is that it puts them on a different path.
Yeah.
It puts them on a different path.
Even for the night,
when they take
even,
the
you know,
edible,
it's just one day at a time, right?
it is. It's one day at a time for sure.
That, you know,
And,
I know a lot of people suffer, and it's horrible right now. That's why I appreciate what you do, and you allow me to help. Not just in downtown East Side, but, you know, my good friend, she has 5 kids. 3 of them are doing just so great, yet 2 of them suffer. So, you know, it's horrible what's going on. The fentanyl seems more addictive and horrible than ever. I don't know what the hell's going on, but seems real. You know, I was watching this show, Robbie Robertson, the musician, and he was talking about how they were all high on heroin back then, making all that beautiful music. I have an immense amount of native art. You know, you know, a lot of it was made under the influence of heroin. It just was.
Right.
You know, I couldn't imagine the guys on fentanyl trying to make a record. You know, not to be mean or nothing. It's a different drug, and it's just a much more intense drug that has been designed to addict people even further and deeper. You know, in the laboratory, it's really horrible. You know, so I'm glad you're, you know, trying
Just
to
watching
battle it.
the little thing on Black Sabbath, the last album they were trying to put together with Ozzy Osbourne, it just wasn't coming together because they were all just too wasted all the time. And they finally decided that they had to get a new singer, and that would solve some of their issues. But anyway, we all know where that all went as well.
But my
yeah,
point
it is a
wasn't to
horrible
make the
situation.
good old heroin sound good, because it wasn't. It was poison. But this stuff is beyond imagination, even the addiction. And then I hear, you know, even if you're a smart, you know, and you know how to shoot up, and you're a smart guy, like, and you know your things, and so no, you don't die from OD. It's affecting their organs and stuff. And there's a pandemic of people dying from organ failure and stuff too, because it's such toxic that's overlooked as well in the numbers they report. Because okay, he didn't die of that, but his organs failed because of the toxic sludge that he's been getting, you know?
It affects how people think, too.
I agree.
It really does. There's a lack of critical thinking. There's I don't know if it's emotion-based or what it is, but there's a real change in the way people think and see things. And that's something else that kind of sticks them in that addiction as well. They're not critically thinking about what's going on with them, and maybe that's part of why they stay addicted.
But I'm sure you've seen success stories that have
So
more,
many.
and you know that's you know probably what fuels you on. You know,
Absolutely.
That's the good thing, because I
had
too.
someone the other day
I've seen people
tell me
that are
that,
completely healed now years later, and you wouldn't even know.
I was trying to describe to someone just the other day
No,
what
I'm
it was
just kidding.
that we're doing here, and you know, saying that, you know, maybe some of my headaches are attributable to the stress that I'm under a little bit, because I'm a bit of an empath. I feel people and what's going on, and that's what kind of drives me to do what I'm doing. And she said, well, you know, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, because you can't. She says you can't help people anyway. She said, you know, they're just doing what they're doing. They're stuck in it. They don't want to get out of it. I said, that's not true. I know hundreds of people that wanted to get out of it, that have gotten out of it. And I said, and she showed me a little video of a horse that was stuck in a mud pit up to its chest. And there was all these people trying to get this horse out of this mud pit. And the horse was just He didn't care one way or the other, you know. And then somebody had the brilliant idea to go get a whole bunch of horses and sort of stampede past this horse in the mud pit. And the horse wanted to join the stampede, so he got himself, with the help of the people, out of the mud pit, and it was because he wanted out. And I said, well, that's kind of because he wanted out, and you're absolutely right. And there are people that want out, but the barrier of going through withdrawal is really tough, and some people try it a couple times, and fuck, they don't want to stop doing it because they know what's on the other side of that, and it's not fun. But they want out. So I said, I see myself as someone in our group, as someone that has encountered a bunch of people that are stuck in a pit. And there's things they want in the pit, but they kind of want out of the pit, but they can't get out of the pit because the walls are too high. And they can't get out until somebody comes with a ladder. And we are people with ladders. And we're just putting those ladders down, and if they want it, it's there. It's an option. And we're just wanting to have that option for people, is to be able to get out.
There's the trauma issue, too, that, I mean, sure, and I agree with everything you said, but until those poor people's trauma is dealt with, you know, these can help them through the night, and this can help them in the right path, but, you know, people aren't just getting high like that for fun. They're just not.
Oh, no, 100%.
They're getting high because they're damaged, they're hurt, and they're
100%.
not properly dealing with the pain. And,
Exactly.
it's not just, oh, let's go cop a
It's
buzz.
not just get through withdrawal and then you're going to be okay.
It's to get
not
over
at all.
whatever your
I mean, you might have to.
might be.
You might have to get
which
through.
We all have, I'm
you
sure.
might have to get through withdrawal, and many people do, and then continue on high doses of edibles and other cannabinoids, extracts, and what have you, for maybe the rest of their lives. You know, but at least it puts them in a better frame of mind to be able to deal with that stuff. And there is absolutely a whole bunch of personal growth that has to happen that isn't easy for people that have been traumatized and hurt, for sure. We're just starting the process by having an option of how to get through withdrawal and how to have a substance that you can have a little better relationship with, and maybe there's a way out through that as well. But our society, the Serious Hope Society, was set up with a great group of people who believe in holistic care that is far-reaching, that will have treatment centers, that will have all kinds of options for people. We have dentists that we can bring in that want to work to get their degrees and things, that will do it for free, and we can fix people's teeth. We can get shoes for people. We can, all kinds of things that we can do to better people's lives. What we were thinking about today with the 5 million, it's a lot more than that, but I wanted to have a very conservative estimate of how many milligrams of THC we've put out in the 5 years.
That's 50,000 right there.
Yeah, I know. It's a conservative estimate. It really is.
Or 60, who's
you know, John Murray all by himself. John did the math. It was 200,000. You know, so we know it's more than 5 million. But what we were thinking about this morning, talking about this morning, but it was how many better nights sleep did that provide to the people that are suffering in this neighborhood? 5 million milligrams. That's a lot of better nights sleep for people. Sure. And many of that stuff also keeps people trapped in addiction, is because they can't get a good night's sleep, because
that's the key.
Know, there's so much of it. Like
that's why I take it.
Well, maybe they get buzzed anyways. It's just, as you said, the nice, natural, easy buzz. Everyone wants to have a little buzz, a little relaxation. Now, you know, let's just have one that won't harm us, isn't nice and easy. And, you know,
there's a path
out. It's not about mushrooms, and I'm still too scared to do mushrooms myself. I am.
Really?
I did a lot as a kid, but I have a lot of responsibilities. It's not that I'm scared to. It's just I have a lot of responsibilities.
You just need 4 hours.
And I can't be high out of reach. You know,
yeah, you just need 4 hours.
Right.
In a nice place that you're comfortable in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but I don't have 4 hours. Not just kidding.
I know what you mean. It's hard to find.
You know, I've heard a lot of really positive stuff coming out of microdosing mushrooms as well for depression and, you know, for repairing of damage.
Microdosing, you don't need 4 hours. Microdosing, you just do a cap at night.
So I've heard, you know, positive things about that too. So I think that's exciting too.
It is, and that needs to be embraced as well. We're going to follow that path. I've got some colleagues that have followed that path.
Starting to maybe give away some microdose. You know, I could maybe help. Microdose capsules. You know,
actually at the OPS they were having microdose Mondays.
I may have
at the OPS where they were giving many. And OPS was also they've got a cannabis program where they give away cannabis edibles. They've been doing that for a very long time as well. Rebecca Bly down there. No, not Rebecca Bly. Rebecca Bly's the counselor that works for us. Sarah Bly. So yeah, Sarah gives away microdoses on Monday to people of mushrooms for people as well. And we certainly stand behind all of that. Dana Larson's been doing some really good work in furthering the cause as well. And it needs to be there as an option. All these things are just options for people. People are all different. Your caps are great for some people. Other people can't take them at all.
No,
You know,
wiped out.
this cake is fantastic for some people, infused cake. Some people can't take it at all.
And you notice I always put on mine, please keep away from children and pets.
Of course.
Because, listen, they can't take those at all.
Yeah, too much
You
too
know, a
powerful.
kid or got that or a dog got that, it wouldn't kill him. It would never kill him,
Wouldn't kill
but
him.
it wouldn't be great.
It's what you don't want to have happen. So you got to be responsible with high dose cannibals, with high dose
I can,
edibles
and
for
you
sure.
know, chocolate
what we learned
reacts
here-
really good with THC, so I bet you that.
Some people have no teeth.
I'm diabetic, I can't
So
have
people with
them,
no
but
teeth,
what's
they have
the
to be careful what they eat. You know, we have to be
They're
careful what
talking
kind
about
of
me.
animals. And so we have to cater to a lot of different people's.
Sure, some people love gummy bears.
and some
personally
people can't
don't
take them.
a lot, but a lot of people
Some people
love
are
gummy
diabetic.
bears too. I am, so that's why I can't eat them.
So we have to have it in the full range, and the point is that it needs to be available. Our whole thing is what this all is this is a demonstration. This is a protest against the current state of affairs. This is a demonstration in a quest for a community-based, in-person purchase, low barrier access cannabis.
I joked
That's what we need,
I joked we should
and
go
it has
set,
to have everything.
we should go set our tents up at the Ottawa protest, selling some grass.
I like that idea.
Chris
That's a
Enns,
great idea.
Chris Enns has been there documenting some things.
Set up the old
My
Derby
understanding
Day
is
tent.
there is some cannabis that's being
Oh,
available for people
Oh,
there. Yeah,
it
Chris
looks
Enns has
like
been
a real great
documenting a fair
time,
bit of
yeah.
that.
Not to be like that at all. It just looked like a party. is
There's
my
some
mistake.
good citizen journalists that have been documenting a lot of
That's
that stuff.
good. We need
That,
that. Mainstream is dead, so we need.
well, the
we need
narrative
people
on the
to
mainstream
stay.
is certainly not matching up with what the reporting on the scene is telling us. You
Oh,
know,
sure.
It's absolutely quite a farce.
Listen,
that, they're
for
saying what they're
decades,
saying.
the Canadian government has sent in, agent provocateurs, counter agents to come in and
right.
smash windows, act like Nazis, and
Yep.
listen, I've been around a long time. I've known a lot of people. I've been everywhere. Guess how many Nazis
I've
I've
been
met?
everywhere now.
None. I've
Yeah.
never met a fucking Nazi. Sorry, I've never met a Nazi or a white supremacist. I'm sure they're out there. I've never known one. I've never. That anyone
Not
has
part of
ever
my
told me.
group. I don't meet
not-
these people
not to be
either.
like that either. So
I see
maybe they
images
have-
on TV
maybe
sometimes.
they
There's
exist,
something
but
they
I'm
say.
suspicious always, that they're just trying to make it look bad. Not that I want to declare any side. People that know me know how I feel.
as part of the pod activist group, you know what happens. I mean, if they do come and cover what we're doing, they try to find some stoned
Right,
person
sure.
that's at least
And-
able to
and-
talk to the issues.
And the field, right there's the prime example.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys worked so hard to treat that field so pristinely. They have other events that just trash the goddamn thing,
I know.
and they completely falsely report on that. So
I
there was
know.
just a little thing from the cannabis side to show that.
No, we live in a very corrupt world, and the government and the media, they tell their story, and it's seldom accurate with respect to anything that's to do with cannabis or, the real fight for rights for people. And what we don't have that gets me so much is in this country is we don't have rights for disabled people. There just really is no protection for disabled people, and this whole over-regulation of cannabis has been nothing but an attack on disabled people in this country, and continues to
And
be
it's
that.
so funny because my mom has muscular dystrophy. My uncle that was the drug dealer, he's gone. So I'm only allowed to say that because he's gone, or he'd kick my ass for even coming close to mentioning his name. But Arnold, and they were in wheelchairs and had muscular dystrophy, and they were held back by exactly that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
It
it's
was
disgusting.
horrible
It
at
is
the
really
time.
disgusting. We need some sort of a bill of rights for disabled people,
I
and
totally agree.
it needs to include access to
Totally
natural
an issue of
plant
mine,
medicines
too.
for sure.
Sure.
And that certainly includes mushrooms. They've been such an enormous help to so many people. I witnessed myself as well. And cannabis, oh my God.
Well, and the dogs,
hundreds of people.
Listen, I've made a lot of caps for you. I've made caps for at least 1,000 dogs. By the vets and that, I microdose for dogs.
They're not
If
50
anyone
milligrams.
No. If anyone has a dog that needs caps, get a hold of me on Instagram.
Don't give your dog a 50 milligram cap.
Well, it depends. You'd be amazed at the miracles. I had a German Shepherd Hunter. I know I'll be really quick. And he was just a prime dog. His mother was a shoot soon world champion. I got him. He was an expensive dog. I took him to the vet at 8. They're all, wow, is your dog just perfect? And I'm all great, but I was worried about his rock hard abdomen. And she got a really weird look on her face. She's all, oh no, we got to X-ray Dave. He's got, he's got spleen cancer. I'm all, dang, they're all, well, we're going to take his spleen out. We're going to biopsy it. You want the results? I'm all, no, I'm going to take my dog home to die, and love him. And so I did, and we gave him 3 15s a day. And, You know, when I took my dog in 3 years later, they thought they seen a ghost, and I was all, why? And they're all, well, you know, your dog's liver was rancid from cancer, and I'm all, well, I do now. You know, and he passed, but he got extra years. One more quick one. On one of the 420s, and this is funny, Sweet Dana Larson sold the inside cover for $500. I couldn't believe it, right? And we had this rescue Rottweiler that right when Hunter had just had his surgery, my lovely lady Shar says, you know, Dave, there's a Rottweiler in the driveway to see you. And I go and see him, and it's a half-starved Rottweiler someone had dumped named Marvin, all half wasting away. We started giving him caps as well, and like probably even more. And he, if you look at, I have it still, if you look at one of the 420 guides, he's in my grow room on the front cover, and he only got to live because of capsules too. And you know what? Humans, we don't know. We can lie and we can think we feel better or not, but the dogs never do. You just either see results or you don't.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to break in. I just wanted to throw in
that's great. I love those
throw in a
stories.
pitch for dogs and cats. Cats, I haven't made almost none for. You know, they're very small, and cats are a different thing. And you know, I just haven't been asked to.
They're
But, dogs, for
unbreakable
sure.
anyway, aren't they?
They
Cats
live
are kind of
forever.
unbreakable. Yeah, it's kind of hard to hurt them, and yeah, they got 9 lives, so you know they're a different type of animal
That's a
altogether.
great story.
But yeah, I know a lot of people.
That's his nickname.
That's a
Nine
great
Lives.
story. Great
Yeah.
story.
Cannabis is medicine. What can I tell you? It's medicine. It supplements our endocannabinoid system, and not just us, but all the vertebrates on the planet. It's been medicine for life on this planet for a very long time. They call it the oil of life, right? It makes everything work properly, and
We don't have time for my, sad tale. That'd be a 4-hour show. But cannabis saved my life completely, and without cannabis, I wouldn't be who I am. I mean, of course, I had a small part in it, and, you know, the good Lord had a much larger part in it. But cannabis saved my life, and does on a daily basis. You know, that's just
and
how that is.
this group of people I've been working with lately, I've told them that. I said, I know hundreds of people, and the common mantra amongst them all is cannabis saved my life.
It saved my life.
Yeah.
Well,
And does on a daily basis.
It certainly enhances a lot of people's lives as well.
And
Thank you so much.
Not on the mental side.
Thanks,
of
Dave.
I'm going to take a couple of these outside there.
Is that my cough?
So we are going to go outside.
Oh, and for much love, I'm going to take off for that.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. You know, you're still
Dave, you're not taking off yet, are you?
pretty close. I'll switch. I'll give you my
I gotta
number
switch
before I
you.
do, but Neil has to continue on outside. Yeah,
Yeah,
And I'll
yeah.
come see you again
Whole
soon. I
group of
want to,
people.
chat a bit. I have some great news, but it just isn't meant for today.
We'll chat soon.
That you helped inspire.
I know about it.
Dave,
We're going to do it this
what's your
cake.
number?
Oh, not right now.
604.
Hey. No.
Still on.
You're live. Oh, you're live. Okay.
Wait, Dave.
Okay.
I love the Vancouver
Where did my
Canucks.
phone go? I got to have it. Give me a second. You can go out there without me.
Somewhat, hypothetically.
I
Sorry about that. Neil.
somebody behind the
And
camera.
then that's
I did this when
I wore my special jacket today for the occasion, and my silly hat.
Calls me. At least someone would finally call me.
Yeah, it's a live show. And here we are in downtown Vancouver. We're 1 block away from Hastings in Maine, and it's a little bit of a drizzly day. It's a little bit cool, but not too bad. But this is where we're at. This is our RV where we do what we've been doing here for quite a while. And today we got a ticket. Accepted this ticket from the parking department, who showed up and said they had a complaint that we'd been parked here for more than 2 hours. Of course, we've been parked here for 15 and a half months. We're just a block away from the police station. We haven't had a ticket like this we didn't have one at all last year. We did have one at the end of the year before last year, and it was for parking more than 2 hours as well. I paid that one. This is the second one we've gotten in a week here. The other one, I called in to talk to somebody about it, and they said that it had been canceled. So I don't know what happened with that, why it was canceled, but that's fine. But today we had the parking people here, and they said that they were going to have to give us tickets on a daily basis if we didn't move the RV. So I will have to have conversations with City Hall and talk about what's going on here and see if we can't get some sort of an arrangement to stop being harassed like that. It didn't seem to matter to them that the likely source of the complaint is from somebody who's wanting us not to get people off of the drugs that they're selling them. They don't know who the complainant was. It doesn't matter to them. A complaint is a complaint. They said that they drive by regularly and see that we pay every day, the meter, which we do, and you know that they would notice if we had parked here more than 2 hours was kind of their point. And so that if we continue to park here, they're going to know it. Oh, we got an ambulance coming by, so I guess I can't talk for a moment here.
That's kind of what you're talking about, though.
Oh, not really coming about. I guess they were just listening to music. But anyway, so I'm going to talk to them and we're going to see what we can do. But, oh, I see. They turned off their siren because there was no way they were going to get through that intersection until the light changed. And now they're continuing. Anyway, hopefully we will be able to resolve this and we won't be harassed by the parking department for staying here more than 2 hours. And the other point is don't tell the parking department, but there's several other vehicles in the block that are parked here all day long, every day, people that either live or work right here, and none of them ever get tickets for parking more than 2 hours. So it's obviously targeted at our vehicle for some reason. And we're really liked by, I think, everybody in the block. We don't make noise. We don't keep people up late at night. We're doing really, really fine work here. Except I'm sure there's a little bit of ruffled feathers by those people who maybe don't like losing customers. That's all I can think of. And I think that the city should think about that when they consider who might be complaining about a harm reduction outlet that's been for a couple of years almost now, helping people get rescued from addiction. Anyway, we'll find out. Next show. Hello. You don't have to knock at this window, but sometimes it helps. We try to see people when they come. And,
although on really cold days, the window is closed.
Yeah. But that's going to change pretty soon now. How you doing, sir? Well, we're now in the way. We're doing pretty good. We're just doing a little live stream here. And we'll let you get to the window, so I'll have to talk to you when we're inside, because, whoa, customers first, right? We're still flying our signs here, which we're pretty proud of. And, we get a good rush hour traffic group that comes through here every day, so I think it's important that we take advantage of that and we try to let people know what we're doing. Like I say, we've never tried to hide our program at all. In fact, we've tried to get as much attention as we can from governments and everyone so that we can get the support we need to continue doing what we're doing. It seems ludicrous that we have to continue to demonstrate that what we're doing is a good thing and we should be supported when for 5 years we've had nothing but success in helping people. So anyway, that's how corrupt our world is. I guess I just didn't knock properly.
That's okay.
You're back. No, that's your front. It looks similar to your back, but better looking.
I'm back, feel better.
That's good. So how's things with the CSP?
I've had 28 people today.
28 people already today?
A lot of people today on Tuesdays. Always. I got lots of stuff here today. We've had more donations today than I've had in a long time.
Well, and that's good. I kind of think every day that maybe we're in better shape than we ever are. Although there's always such a need here, and there are times when we have less of this or less of that, but we have more of others, and then it comes in right away. Today we might be in better shape than we've ever been in for 5 years in our ability to help people. Thanks to so many people helping us, and we love all of that. But before we do that, Andrew, I want to know how you feel about the 5th year anniversary of the CSP and what's going on.
Well, it's been a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
This is a quieter journey over here than it was at Van Dew.
Yeah.
But we worked it at Van Dew, right?
It was a lot more intense for a shorter period of time.
Yeah, a lot more intense, yeah. A lot more people out there doing
But within a couple hours, we were there and gone,
Oh, yeah, but we served about 250, 300 people sometimes, man.
Yeah.
We did pretty good. A lot of disability, a lot of people on drugs.
So it's a lot more relaxed to have 28 people.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
You can spend a little more time. They get to choose what they want. If they got a story to tell you, they can tell you.
Sure they can. I've helped a lot of people, and it's been working for a lot of people, right? There's a lot of successful stories.
Right? At Van Dew, we had a couple hundred people there, and we had to just kind of run them through as quick as we could. And, because we cared about the people at the back of the lineup, and the people that had mobility issues and all of that. So we really couldn't spend a lot of time letting people tell us what was going on with them. But here, we've been here for over a year and a half now. We've come to know a lot of people a lot better, and
4 days, I get to know all the people. I know their numbers, right?
You know their numbers.
Yeah, I can.
We have your number.
I can turn around, see a guy, and I can say he can say his number, and I already know the number, right? I've done that today lots of times.
So 5 years, eh? Holy
5
smokes!
years is very successful.
You've been here. I mean, you were there within the first 6 months of us starting. So it's been 4.5 years.
Yeah, I was
So-
over at Ted when he gave me the job. I was over at Ted's rolling joints up there. And then
Yeah.
and then I rolled joints in Van View for you guys.
Yeah, one of our longest surviving.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that's a bad way to say it, but volunteers. You know, we had a lot of volunteers over the time, and a lot of people
Well, I
helping
like
us.
what I'm doing.
But yeah, you've been
I love
so
what I'm doing.
faithful and here all the time.
I
And
love marijuana, and I know it works for people.
well, I'm really happy to have you helping me.
All right.
When Ted Smith told me, he said, "Look, man, I'm not going to be able to help you, but don't worry. I got somebody that'll take it over for me, and he's a really good guy, and he'll do a good job."
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't have imagined that you'd be able to do as
Me
good a
and Ted
job
have
as
been
you had.
friends for years.
Well, he was sure right about you, so thanks a lot for that.
Oh, no
It's been
problem.
quite a journey for sure.
Pretty good,
so,
yeah.
show us what you got.
Well, today was a lot of more donations of gummies and cookies. Okay, now I got some 100 CBD gummies.
Green Wilderness.
Sean came in today.
I see.
He came in this morning when you were
Nice.
sleeping. So I got this one here. This is 1-to-1.
Nice.
20 milligrams each, so it's 100 milligrams.
All that is Green Wilderness in the
Yeah.
bottom row there.
This here is 100 milligram cubes. There's 3 in there. That's 300 milligrams per package. So that's pretty good.
Right on.
We got some cubes right here. They're 40 milligrams each. We've put 3 in there for 120 milligrams. We finish off right.
Nice.
And what else we got? I got some cubes right here. These are 50 milligrams each, so that makes 100 milligrams. And then I got 300 milligram dinosaurs.
Nice.
300 milligrams for someone who needs a heavy dose, right?
Right.
Then I got some caramels. These caramels here are 150 milligrams from Robert,
Right.
right? And then I've got some caramels right here. These caramels are 300 milligrams each. 350.
Yeah, 350s.
350. I got some brownies here from Roberta. Very nice.
Roberta's oven broke, and she can't afford a new one for a little while. So
Robert
we're gonna try to take over making those brownies. She handed us over this.
Brought us a couple of bags of cookies and peanut butter chocolate chip.
Right.
And they're 125.
I heard a
milligrams.
rumor that Robert's going to bring me some
125
uninfused chocolate chip cookies
That's
tomorrow.
125 milligrams. Now I've got some cookies from Joe Pepper here,
Nice.
and they're 100 milligrams each.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So today was pretty good. I appreciate everybody doing
So then what else we got in there? Oh yeah, we got some of those Dirty Dave caps. We were just talking about them inside.
These are very popular. We got some 50 milligram capsules. They're very popular. THC. People
Yeah.
love them.
And then we got some 5 milligrams as well for people who like smaller doses of those.
And we have some here. These ones are 5 milligrams each because some people don't like a high dose, or they want
Nice.
to finish off their 420, right?
Right.
With about 4 of them and 5 milligrams.
And
each.
those are Keef caps.
These are Keef caps. They're
Yeah.
50 milligrams each.
That's
These are
not oil in there, that's Keef.
That's Keef, yes.
Also work very well.
And we just got a donation of this, the big bag of these.
Oh, from Mad Hatter.
Yes, we just got a big bag donation.
Wonderful,
of it.
wonderful.
So today's been pretty good, and I really appreciate everybody's help. They've done a great job.
Well, there's also Gorilla Ganja gummies. I didn't see those. There's a few other things. Sporting the Cannabis
Okay, this is an
Substitution
indica-
Program
These are
crest
Gorilla
there.
Ganjas, and these are 1-to-1, 40 milligrams CBD and 40 milligrams indica, black cherry. And I got some just pure pineapple CBD, just pure CBD for the people who need the CBD for the pain. I got some mango sativa, 1-to-1, 40 of the indica and 40 of CBD. Then I got a pure raspberry, it's pure indica.
Nice.
That's what a lot of people like. They love it very much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a favorite for sure.
That's a favorite, yes it is.
So Dirty Dave gave us some joints for the staff. So here, Andrew, Dirty Dave gave us some joints,
Oh,
so
okay,
I'm just going
right
to give
on.
you that.
Thanks, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Hey, yes. You gotta do that right now.
Ah, it smells beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice. Sure.
Very nice. Oh, very nice. Thanks, Dave.
All right, well, we're going to go around the other side and see those other
Thanks,
folks.
guys. I really appreciate it.
Probably got a line up here.
Cheers.
All right. John Murray, what's going on?
Nothing, just wandering about.
I was showing off your pamphlets in there, talking about the graphics that you did for us, and
Awesome.
you know, probably more to come. Might need some more signs coming up.
We'll look right after you.
We're going in here. Well, welcome to the Ganja Mobile, Scooby Dooby van, Healing Wave RV, and all the other fun names. Hey, George, how's it going?
Still rolling.
Still rolling. Any idea how many joints you've rolled for us over the years?
Hey, what would you like today, brother?
You hit $1 million?
No, I wouldn't go that much. Maybe, I don't know, 100,000 at least.
Maybe, eh?
At least.
It's pretty impressive. And are we talking CSP over the last 4 or 5 years? Or are you including your time with the Holy Rollers for the Cannabis Day and 420 rallies?
Oh, well, maybe $250,000 then. Yeah. It's a lot of joints.
You've
when
been
you
rolling,
think about it.
those fingers have rolled a lot of joints. That is for sure. George used to be in charge of the Holy Rollers. I love the Holy Rollers. The Holy Rollers is a group that assembled because of 420 and Cannabis Day in Vancouver here. And I had the joy of being the guy that had to put those people together and crack the whip over them. And, you know, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to sit and roll joints the whole day, every day for those rallies. And so we had the Holy Rollers, and it was a really cool thing. And so when I started the CSP, I was really happy to assemble a group of Holy Rollers there. And the reason I was so happy about that is because in 2009, there was an attempt by Vandu to provide cannabis as an option to people that were struggling with hard drugs. Vandu is the Vancouver area network of drug users in Vancouver, an advocacy group of peers that run by users, for users, supported by Coastal Health. And so in their offices, they approached me, and we set up a green project of having cannabis available for people. But within a couple of weeks, we had the lawyers intervene and tell us that Coastal Health would pull their funding if we continued to provide cannabis for people. And so we had to stop doing that. And I was really disappointed about that we could get stopped, because I really thought we had a good thing going there, and it was going to really result in some profound reduction in harm in the neighborhood to have that as a real option for people. So then now we fast forward to 2017, and I get to go back into Vandu's offices there, and I've now set up a table several times. I've got an ongoing Saturday giveaway, and pretty quickly I assembled a bunch of people to sit in the foyer at a big table and roll joints with piles of weed on the tables. And I remember thinking to myself at the time, let's see them stop me now. And no, they didn't stop us. They couldn't stop us. They did decide that we should only have no more than 6 rollers at a time, so we limited it to the one extended table of 6 rollers. But other than that, it was really good to be able to bring cannabis back to that part of this city where it is so valuable to people who are struggling to try to get through withdrawal, get off of these hard drugs, and find a way to live their lives that doesn't involve the cycles that are there with respect to using opioids and other hard drugs, alcohol, meth, and crack, and those things. So it's been a hell of a run. I can't believe it's been 5 years that have passed since that time. But it was really, really good when I got accepted by Vandu to start handing out cannabis, and that resulted in a room full of people rolling joints, and a lineup of people getting handed edibles, and a foyer of people all buzzing about, pun intended, about what we were able to do there, and how many people we were helping, and how much we knew that it was doing good in the neighborhood. So that was awesome. So, what do you guys got to say? Jen Nelson, how do you feel about 5 years of CSP?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
It doesn't feel like it's been that long.
Yeah, and you were there from the early days as well. Yeah.
Not quite from the beginning, but
Well, within that first 6 months, I think, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah,
That's usually early.
yeah. And 6 months seems like a long time, but not when you compare it
Well,
to 5
especially
years.
I was in the lineup for a while before I actually made it in as a volunteer. So.
I know.
Never seen you in line.
But I just kept pestering you and Ted. And Mike. Was trying to convince all of you. Come on, just let me make things better.
Yeah, and you've been doing that ever since, that's for sure. I gave you some accolades at last show as well, but seriously, 5 years, and for the bulk of that, for well over 4 of that, you've been right there making sure that things work. I mean, Andrew had the title of making sure, of kind of overseeing all the volunteers. That's what his role was at Vandu. But you had your department, and you knew what you were doing there, and you knew how many bags to put together and how much stuff we would have, and you'd gauge it out and make it all work. And yeah, it's been fabulous.
Well, that was a learning curve too, because
I'm sure it was.
I would look at the lineup, right, and try to gauge it by that. But then, I realized the lineup grows while we're there. Like, there was times where it would literally triple in size by the time we actually started handing stuff out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was good, and most of the time, I mean, sometimes it was bang on. Sometimes it was
Well,
like, last person, last bag, there you go.
I loved the days when we actually had extra stuff left over, because then I could take it and hand it out throughout the week,
Yeah.
Whenever I'd see somebody in need.
I don't know if you guys knew, or maybe I've never even told you, but I always had stuff too. But when I would get donations, I would portion them out, so that I could always make sure, probably from the 1 week or from either the Thursday or the Sunday, that for the next event I had most of what we needed. So I tried to stay a couple of times ahead of myself as far as how much. Twisted Extracts was so good for that. The Medicinal Cannabis Dispensary was very good at helping me have what I needed. There was a number of them that were so good. Green Wilderness. And so, I had a room full of all kinds of different things, so that we would have enough. And then I would try to portion out how much we needed week by week as well.
300 people, you can't give all that out in one day.
No, you don't want to, because you want to be back the next time and have enough for people.
We want to serve the people that come back next week too.
But thanks to Jen and yourself and everybody that kicked in, and the donators that would give us as much as we needed.
We all enjoyed being at Vandu. For all the commotion that was there, we actually enjoyed giving stuff out.
Oh, I'm sure we did.
Right after it's over, we're outside on the pavement talking about it. We were in good mood.
I don't think people would be as dedicated and reliable and showing up all the time and doing the job if they weren't enjoying themselves.
We're here for as long as it takes.
I think we all knew that there was any one or two or three of the people that were in that lineup that we got to know kind of personally a little bit, that was really struggling in their life, and we could see how much it was helping them. I mean, that's all it really would take.
All it takes,
is those 2 or 3 people, but there were dozens of people that were really being helped, and I know a lineup with 250 to 300 people in it.
Gave some people in the lineup that said, "Here's your package. You don't have to stand in line. Right, they're in a wheelchair, or they're or they've got a walker and they've got braces on their legs or something. They don't want to stand there for 4 or 5 hours."
Yeah, so it's been a great thing that's been going on here, and really happy to have had something to do with it. And it's a great opportunity for people. I mean, you heard Dave talk about how much he appreciates the fact that we were there as a way for him to help out. Because there are a lot of people that really want to help out in this world, and there's not that many proper vehicles for doing that. Maybe there is, I don't know. There's a lot of charities. I guess there are ways you can give your time and money and energy into helping places, but this is one of those places. This is a pretty cool one. This is a pretty good one. There's a lot of people that are struggling mightily because of the current situation of drug prohibition and tainting of an underground drug supply, which should never be there at all. Wouldn't need to have an underground drug supply if there was an above ground drug supply that would satisfy the needs of people and would do so properly. Nobody wants to be overly using and misusing drugs. Nobody wants to be crouching behind dumpsters, putting needles in their arms in the filth, that's not what people have intended in their life. That's not what they want. But it's where they end up. And they end up there because we have a system where drug prohibition is rampant, when people are preying off of the addicted, when the addicted are being addicted in droves by a pharmaceutical industry and an opioid distribution industry that wants addicted customers and feeds off their addiction and feeds off of all that there is to do with that, and all these other places that are profiting off of people's addictions and illnesses. This is an answer to that, and for people that want to be part of that answer, I'm really glad that there is us and the other CSPs and the other groups that are doing similar harm reduction initiatives so that people have a way to help. And if you want to help us, we would love your help. We could always do more. We'd like to have more cannabis substitution programs going on in other places across Canada where it's really needed. There's a serious problem in the Sioux. They did a documentary there recently that said that there's more deaths from fentanyl in the Sioux than anywhere else in North America. It's just a small community in middle Ontario. You know, it's crazy what's going on. This needs to be there for people. This needs to be an option for people. With your help, with enough help, we can persuade the government to support what we're doing, to allow it to happen, and then it can happen the way that it should. And we can get cannabis in the forms that are necessary to all the places that it's needed, and we can really have a better world as a result of it. But right now they're wasting a whole lot of our tax dollars, scaring people, depriving people, and harming people in an effort to protect corporate interests and greed with respect to cannabis, and it needs to stop. So do what you can. You know, write letters on our behalf. That would be awesome. It would be a really good time to put some positive pressure on the Health Ministry, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions federally, to hurry up and to get us what we need in the way of a license to be able to operate and just continue what we're doing. We're not asking for much, although I guess we're asking for them to allow cannabis to be sold cheaper than they want to let it be sold for, and gee, that's a crime, I guess. But we're really asking that we be allowed to get cannabis to the people that need it in a time of epidemic of drug overdose deaths and a tainted drug supply and a world that is really, really screwed up because of drug prohibition and those policies that have led to where we are today. And it's all here only because of that. If there was not drug prohibition, if there was reasonable access to all the things that people want and proper educated people dispensing it and educating the people that are dispensing it to, we would not have all of these problems. There would still be people that misused substances and wanted to get higher than other people think that they should. And some people would have substance issues and addiction issues. That can't be avoided completely. But it certainly doesn't need to be fed, encouraged, and preyed upon the way that it is being today and has been for all these this time leading up to this. So, you know, I recommend you try hard to be part of the solution. It's a good way to live. It's something, and if you can do something and something needs to be done, then if you have a conscience, you got to do something. So do something. Make yourself feel better. Make the world a better place. If it's just writing a letter, so be it. Letters can be very powerful. Whatever it is, help out. Be part of the team. I'd welcome you into that. Whatever you do, though, I mean, if you're busy and you're living your life and you don't have time for much else but raising kids and other things and watching a little bit of the THC show, then, you know, I understand that, and that's fine. Do what you can. But as you do so, remember, life is short. You know, there's beauty everywhere and there's ugliness everywhere, and a lot of it's to do with what you focus on. You can focus on the ugly stuff to try to make it better, but focus on enough of the beauty to have a good balance in your life. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and no matter what, always have as much fun as you can. See you next week.